Maybe we could talk about this over coffee sometime?
I'd prefer you just write the ticket, officer.
Why would you want that? I'm trying to be nice here. Come on, just one coffee. Or more?
Officer, I'd like to keep this professional.
You seem defensive. Are you married? Live alone?
That's not relevant to the traffic stop.
I'm done playing nice. Step out of the vehicle.
Officer Jordan Finch had been with the Cedar Hill Police Department for 9 years when he pulled over a woman who would end his career. He was 34 years old, confident in his authority, and completely certain that his badge meant his advances couldn't be refused. On a September night in 2023, he approached Lena Grant's car window with practiced charm, unaware that her phone was already recording in the cup holder. The click of the record button, a sound he never heard, captured every inappropriate question, every fabricated justification, every second of the unlawful arrest that followed. What Finch didn't realize as he demanded her compliance was that he wasn't threatening a victim. He was provoking a federal case, and the woman calmly citing her constitutional rights wasn't powerless. She was documenting his destruction. September 2023. The dashboard clock read 11:47 p.m. when Lena Grant first saw the red and blue lights flashing in her rearview mirror. She'd been driving the same route home from her night shift at Dallas Presbyterian Hospital for 3 years. Every turn memorized, every traffic signal anticipated. At 32, Lena had built her entire life on discipline and precision. As a healthcare administrator and single mother of 2, she couldn't afford mistakes, especially not with police. She pulled over immediately, hands visible on the steering wheel, documents already within reach. This was the protocol she'd taught her teenage son. Cooperate, comply, survive. Her phone sat in the cup holder, screen dark, but the recording app was already activated. The moment she'd seen those lights, she'd tapped the emergency recording feature, a precaution she'd maintained since her first traffic stop at 19. Officer Jordan Finch approached with a flashlight and a smile. 9 years with the Cedar Hill Police Department had taught him how to read situations, how to assess vulnerability. A black woman alone at night, no passengers, late hour. Perfect. Evening, ma'am. You know why I stopped you? Lena's heart rate elevated, but her voice remained steady. No, officer, I don't. Rolled through that stop sign back at Westbrook. The lie came easily. His dashcam footage would later prove no such violation occurred, but to Lena wasn't the point. Control was. I'm certain I came to a complete stop, officer. Finch leaned against her doorframe, his posture deliberately casual. Well, you seem nervous. No need for that. You seem like a nice woman. A pause. Strategic. I could let this slide. Maybe we could talk about it over coffee sometime? The question landed like ice water. Lena understood immediately. This wasn't about traffic violations. I'd prefer you just write the ticket if I violated a traffic law, sir. His smile evaporated. Now, why would you want that? I'm trying to be nice here. Officer, I'd like my citation so I can be on my way. The temperature in the conversation dropped 20 degrees. Finch straightened, his hand moving to his belt. Step out of the vehicle. Finch had perfected this approach over 2 years. The key was establishing authority while maintaining plausible deniability. Friendly questions that could be interpreted as professional courtesy if recorded, but carried implicit threats when delivered with the right tone. Are you married? Lena gripped her steering wheel tighter. Officer, I don't see how that's relevant to a traffic stop. Just making conversation. Long night? Figured you might want some company. I'd prefer to keep this professional. Finch's jaw tightened. He'd pulled over dozens of women with this method. Most gave him their numbers out of fear or resignation. The ones who resisted required escalation. Ma'am, your driving seemed erratic. Have you been drinking tonight? I haven't consumed any alcohol. You seem defensive. That's often an indicator of impairment. I'm a healthcare administrator leaving a 12-hour shift. I'm tired, not impaired. He leaned closer, inhaling dramatically. Is that marijuana I smell? Lena's phone continued recording. Every word, every fabrication. There's no marijuana in this vehicle. I don't use controlled substances. Well, I'll need to verify that. Do you live alone? Got anyone who can come get you if I need to impound your vehicle? Each question was designed to extract personal information while manufacturing justification for the stop. But Lena recognized the pattern. She'd seen enough body cam footage from police misconduct cases to understand what was happening. Officer, I'm asking directly. What's the legal basis for this stop? I already told you, traffic violation. And I've disputed that. Am I being detained? Don't get smart with me. I'm not being smart. I'm asking a legal question. Finch's hand moved to his radio. Dispatch, show me 10 to 6 on this traffic stop. Possible DUI investigation. There was no DUI, no erratic driving, no traffic violation. Just a man with a badge and a woman who dared to say no. The recording captured all of it. 7 minutes had passed. To Lena, it felt like hours. Finch had exhausted his usual tactics. The friendly approach failed. The intimidation through procedural language hadn't worked. The fabricated concerns about impairment gained no traction. Lena countered each attempt with calm, precise language that demonstrated she understood her rights better than most civilians. This infuriated him. In Finch's experience, black women pulled over at night didn't cite case law. They didn't ask for badge numbers. They certainly didn't reject his advances with the confidence of someone who knew the encounter was being documented. Ma'am, final time. Step out of the vehicle. Officer, you haven't provided legal justification for that order. The justification is, I'm telling you to. That's not a legal standard. His face flushed red. You want to play lawyer? Fine. I can do this the hard way. Lena knew what was coming next. She'd watched enough videos of traffic stops gone wrong to recognize the pivot point, the moment when an officer's ego overrode their training. Officer, I'm requesting your badge number and the presence of a supervisor. My badge number is right here on my chest. You can read, can't you? The racial undertone wasn't subtle. I can read, officer. I'm asking you to verbally provide it for the record. For what record? Are you recording this? He glanced around, finally suspicious. His eyes landed on her phone in the cup holder, screen black. He dismissed it. Unless you're planning to file some bogus complaint like you people always do. You people. There it was. The mask had slipped completely. Lena felt her pulse in her ears, but kept her voice level. I'd like a supervisor, please. What you'd like and what you're going to get are two different things. Now get out of the car before I drag you out. The threat was explicit now. No more pretense of procedural legitimacy. Lena made a calculation. Resistance would give him the justification he was manufacturing. Compliance might de-escalate. She was wrong. Lena opened her door slowly, hands visible. Every movement is deliberate. I'm complying, officer. But compliance wasn't what Finch wanted. He wanted submission, punishment, a demonstration that his authority was absolute. The moment her feet touched the pavement, he grabbed her right arm and wrenched it behind her back with unnecessary force. She gasped, sharp pain shooting through her shoulder. You think you're better than me? His breath was hot against her ear as he slammed her forward against the car. Think you can disrespect an officer and walk away? I haven't, her cheek pressed against cold metal. I haven't disrespected you. Talking back is disrespectful. He grabbed her left arm, pulling both wrists together with violence that would leave bruises. The handcuffs clicked shut, deliberately over-tightened. Metal bit into skin. You're under arrest. Lena's legal training kicked in through the fear. For what charge? resisting arrest. Obstruction of governmental operations. The Kafkaesque absurdity would have been laughable in any other context. One cannot resist an arrest that has no lawful foundation. The charges were circular logic. Arrested for resisting an arrest that shouldn't exist. But Finch didn't care about logic or law. I haven't resisted anything. Tears streamed down Lena's face, but her voice remained steady. You're arresting me because I wouldn't go out with you. Keep talking. I'll add disorderly conduct. He walked her to his patrol car, hand on her head as he pushed her into the back seat. The door slammed shut. Through the window, she could see her own car, driver's door still open, her phone still recording in the cup holder. Her dash camera had captured everything from another angle. Finch returned to her vehicle to retrieve her license and registration. He didn't notice the small camera mounted behind her rearview mirror. Didn't see the phone's recording indicator, disguised in the dark. He'd just destroyed his career, and he had no idea. The Cedar Hill Police Department holding cell was exactly as Lena had imagined. Concrete walls, fluorescent lights, steel bench. She sat with her hands folded, handcuffs finally removed, wrists marked with angry red lines. 4 hours passed before her sister arrived with bail money. The processing had been methodical and humiliating. Photographed, fingerprinted, personal belongings inventoried. She'd been treated like a criminal because a police officer couldn't handle rejection. The charges were formally documented: resisting arrest, obstructing governmental operations, disorderly conduct, all misdemeanors, but the implications were catastrophic. Healthcare administrators underwent background checks. Even minor criminal convictions could terminate her employment. Finch knew this. The charges were designed to destroy her professionally, even if they didn't result in jail time. But Finch had made a critical miscalculation. Within 3 hours of her release, Lena sat in the office of Vanessa Winters, a civil rights attorney whose reputation preceded her. Winters had dismantled 3 police departments in federal civil rights lawsuits. She'd won 8-figure settlements. Prosecutors feared her. Corrupt cops despised her. And she took Lena's case immediately. "You have the recordings?" Winters asked. Lena handed over her phone and the SD card from her dash camera. "Everything, from the moment he turned on his lights until they closed the patrol car door." Winters spent 45 minutes reviewing the footage. Her expression remained neutral, professional, until she reached the moment Finch grabbed Lena's arm. Then her jaw tightened. "This isn't just a civil case," Winters said finally. "This is criminal. Federal civil rights violation. And if I'm right about the pattern I'm seeing here, Officer Finch has done this before. Can we prove that?" "We're going to try." Winters made 3 phone calls while Lena sat in her office. First to the FBI's Civil Rights Division. Second, to a journalist at a local news station. Third, to an investigator who specialized in police misconduct cases. By the time Lena left that office, the machinery of justice had begun turning. It would take months to reach its conclusion, but it would be thorough. The local news aired the story first. Healthcare worker arrested after refusing officer's date request ran on the evening broadcast 3 days after the incident. The footage was edited for television. 30 seconds of the most damning exchanges, Finch's inappropriate questions, Lena's calm refusals, then the violent arrest. The station's phone lines exploded. Regional outlets picked up the story within 24 hours. National news followed. But the real wildfire started on social media. Someone uploaded the full unedited footage, 24 minutes from dashcam activation to patrol car door closing. 12 million views in the first week. Hashtag Schachten Justice for Lena began trending. The comments section filled with rage, disbelief, and hundreds of similar stories from other women. The pattern was undeniable. Cedar Hill Police Department's official Facebook page was overwhelmed with thousands of angry comments demanding accountability. The mayor's office received so many calls, their phone system crashed. Protesters gathered outside police headquarters carrying signs. Badge doesn't mean power over bodies, and Blue Lives Matter, Black women's lives matter more. The police union released a statement defending Finch. The footage appears to show a tense interaction, but it's important to remember context matters. Our officer was responding to what he perceived as a threatening situation. Vanessa Winters responded within hours, releasing the full unedited recording, including pre-stop footage showing Lena's vehicle coming to complete stops at all intersections. The context defense crumbled immediately. Internal Affairs opened an investigation. What they found was worse than a single bad cop. They discovered 3 formal complaints filed against Finch over 2 years, all for inappropriate behavior during traffic stops. All complaints involved Black women pulled over at night. All complaints had been reviewed by Finch's supervising sergeant, David Martinez, who happened to be Finch's brother-in-law. Every complaint had been classified as unsubstantiated and buried in departmental files. No investigation, no discipline, no record that would flag him as a problem officer. The FBI's Civil Rights Division opened a federal investigation 48 hours later. The case that Finch assumed would disappear had instead become national news, and the scrutiny was just beginning. Federal investigators work differently than local internal affairs. They have subpoena power, forensic capabilities, and, most importantly, no loyalty to the department they're investigating. Within 3 weeks, they'd reconstructed Finch's pattern. The data was damning. Over 18 months, Finch had initiated 63 traffic stops of women driving alone. 57 of those stops occurred between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. 41 involved Black women. Only 12 resulted in citations. The investigators interviewed 7 women who'd been pulled over by Finch. Their stories were variations on the same theme: fabricated violations, personal questions, requests for phone numbers, implicit threats when they refused. One woman, Angela Miles, provided text messages. Finch had contacted her for 4 months after pulling her over, using information from her driver's license to find her Facebook profile. The messages started friendly, became insistent, then threatening. "You're playing hard to get. I know where you live. I drive past your apartment every day." Just saying. Another victim, Keisha Davis, described how Finch followed her home after a traffic stop to make sure she got there safely. She'd watched from her window as his patrol car sat outside her apartment building for 20 minutes. When she'd called to complain the next day, Sergeant Martinez told her the officer was just doing his job. The federal investigation expanded. They examined Martinez's complaint reviews and found he'd systematically buried misconduct allegations against 3 officers, including his brother-in-law. The department's culture didn't just enable predators, it protected them. Investigators interviewed officers who'd worked with Finch. 2 admitted they'd witnessed inappropriate behavior during stops, but never reported it. "You don't rat out other cops," was the explanation. That code of silence had allowed Finch to operate freely for years. The U.S. Attorney's Office prepared federal charges: civil rights deprivation, false arrest, official misconduct, witness intimidation. Finch had sent threatening messages to 2 women who'd filed complaints. The case file was 300 pages when it went to the grand jury. They indicted in 40 minutes. Jordan Finch's arrest made smaller headlines than Lena's, but the implications were larger. This wasn't just one corrupt cop. It was systemic failure. The trial began 7 months after Lena's arrest on that September night. United States versus Jordan Finch, Federal Courthouse, Northern District of Texas. The prosecution's case was methodical and devastating. They played Lena's recordings, the full 24 minutes. The jury watched as Finch shifted from fake friendliness to overt intimidation. They heard him fabricate probable cause. They watched him violently arrest a woman for the crime of saying no. Then came the other victims. 8 women testified. Their stories formed a pattern impossible to dismiss as coincidence or misunderstanding. Each traffic stop followed the same script. Each escalation occurred after rejection. Each woman left that encounter feeling violated and powerless. A police procedures expert testified for 3 hours, methodically explaining how every action Finch took violated departmental policy, state law, and constitutional protections. The traffic stop lacked probable cause. The questions were inappropriate. The arrest was unlawful. Finch's defense attorney argued judgment errors in high-pressure situations, that Finch made mistakes but lacked criminal intent, that his actions, while regrettable, didn't rise to the level of criminal civil rights violations. The jury didn't buy it. 4 hours of deliberation. Guilty on all counts. Deprivation of rights under color of law. 2 counts of false arrest. Official misconduct. Witness intimidation. The judge handed down 7 years in federal prison. No possibility of parole for the first 5 years. You didn't just violate these women's civil rights, the judge said at sentencing. You violated the public trust. You turned a badge into a weapon. That requires significant punishment. Finch's law enforcement certification was permanently revoked. His pension was stripped. He became inmate number 47289-019 at a federal correctional facility in 2024. His supervising sergeant, David Martinez, was terminated and charged with obstruction of justice for concealing complaints. He pleaded guilty and received 3 years probation. 3 other officers who'd witnessed Finch's misconduct and remained silent received suspensions without pay and mandatory ethics retraining before reinstatement. 1 traffic stop had dismantled an entire corrupt network. But the consequences extended beyond criminal convictions. Vanessa Winters filed the civil lawsuit 6 weeks after Finch's arrest. Grant versus Finch and Cedar Hill Police Department. Federal civil rights violation, unlawful arrest, assault, intentional infliction of emotional distress. The city's attorneys initially offered $150,000 to settle. Winters countered with $2.5 million and mandatory systemic reforms. When the city balked, she prepared for trial. Discovery revealed the depth of departmental failures, buried complaints, inadequate training, absence of oversight. The settlement came 3 months before the civil trial would have started. $1.2 million, one of the largest in Cedar Hill's history. But money wasn't the victory. The consent decree was. New mandatory policies. Body cameras required for all traffic stops, with automatic disciplinary action for deactivation or tampering. A civilian oversight board with subpoena power to review all misconduct complaints. Annual training on sexual harassment, abuse of power, and implicit bias. An independent hotline for reporting officer misconduct, staffed by civilian advocates rather than department personnel. Public quarterly reports on complaints, investigations, and disciplinary actions. Lena's criminal charges were expunged, her record cleared, her reputation restored. She returned to her job at the hospital, received a promotion 6 months later. But she didn't stop there. Lena became a voice for police accountability, speaking at community forums, consulting with state legislators on law enforcement reform bills. Her testimony helped pass 2 state laws strengthening oversight of police misconduct. The recording that documented her ordeal has been viewed over 45 million times. It's now used in police academies across the country as a case study in constitutional violations and abuse of authority. At Finch's sentencing hearing, Lena sat in the gallery and watched as he was led away in handcuffs. She didn't smile, didn't celebrate. simply nodded once, quiet acknowledgement that justice, though delayed, had finally arrived. Outside the courthouse, reporters asked if she felt vindicated. "I didn't record that video to go viral," she said. "I recorded it to survive. And if my survival means other women won't have to endure what I did, then every second of that nightmare was worth it." Jordan Finch would spend 7 years behind bars. Lena Grant spent those years rebuilding not just her life, but the system itself. Justice served.